Coming up on this edition of Able to Cook, we go into the kitchen and we talk about the history of sushi. All that and much more when Able to Cook starts right now. Welcome to this edition of Able to Cook, the one and only program that focuses on the needs, concerns, and many abilities in the kitchen. I'm Lawrence Seiler. Arlene's not here today. On this show today, we talk about the history of sushi. So let's get started. The history of sushi, this could be found on wikipedia.org, www.wikipedia.org. The history of sushi, pronounced sushi or susai, began with the paddy fields where fish were fermented with vinegar, salt, and rice, or rice and salt, in which the rice is discarded. The earliest form of the dish today refers to nara sushi, which was created by Southeast Asia, which was spread to surrounding countries. Nara sushi spread to Japan around the Yayoi period, and the early Neolithic, early Iron Age, and the Muromachi period from 1336 to 1573. That's 1336 to 1573. People began to eat the rice as well as the fish. During the Edo period, 1603 to 1867, vinegar rather than fermented rice was to be used. The dish had become the form of food strongly associated with the Japanese culture. The inventor of modern sushi was to be believed by Hanoi Yori, Hanayayoi, invented the nagari sushi, a type of sushi known today, which is seafood that's placed on hand-pressed vinegar rice. Around 1824, in the Edo period, which was the fast food of Chonin class of the Edo period. The earliest form of sushi, which is a dish today known as nare sushi, Narezushi, known to originate in Southeast Asia, and where it was made to preserve freshwater fish, possibly in the Mekong River basin, which is now Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand, and in the Irrawaddy River basin known as Narayamar. Nara sushi is in ancient China is the first documented around the 4th century, which is the Han Chinese with the Han Chinese HAN Chinese immigrated south or migrated south to adapt food from the Barrier River, which is the non-Han inhabitants of the southern China and the Neolithic related to the modern Southeast Asians. Similar modern dishes which ferment fish and rice and other grains in Asian cultures include the barang Isda and the Balu Balu, and the Philippines, and also Indonesia and Malaysia, um, and part of Vietnam. The prototypical Anara sushi is made from lacto-fermenting fish and salt and rice in order to control the purification purification. In Japan, the distribution overlaps the introduction of wet field rice cultivation during the Yayoi period. Passages mention ancient Japanese people in comparison with the son of the legendary king Shao Kang, Shao Kang, which was ruling over the Yangtze Delta. Many, great and small, all tattoo their faces and decorate their bodies with designs from olden times, and visited the Chinese court, called themselves grandees. The son of the ruler Shenzhou Kang and Zia. During the 3rd century, Chinese travelers in Japan recorded examples of Wu traditions and ritual teeth pulling, tattooing, carrying babies on their backs. And this is explaining the history of sushi. Sushi in Japan, the Yao Code and the characters are written as a tribute to the Japanese imperial court. And although there were various theories of which to what exactly the food was, and it was possible that it was referred to Nara sushi. Until the 19th century, sushi slowly changed the Japanese cuisine as well. The Japanese started eating 3 meals a day, and rice was boiled instead of steamed, and the larger importance of the development of rice vinegar. During the Muromachi period from 1336 to 1573, the Japanese invented a style of sushi called naramari or namamari, which means fermented. The fermentation of the period of naramari was shorter than the early nara sushi, and the rice fermentation was also eaten with the fish. In other words, with the invention of naramari, sushi was preserved fish to a food where the fish and rice were eaten together. After the appearance of naramari, sake and sake leaves were used to shorten fermentation, and the vinegar was used by the Edo period. During the Edo period, from 1603 to 1867, a third type of sushi, hara sushi, which is known as fast sushi, was developed. Hara sushi delivered from earlier sushi, instead of the fermentation of rice, vinegar and fermented foods were mixed with rice and give a sour taste, and it could be eaten at the same time as the fish. Previously, sushi had involved with the focus of shortening of fermentation period
but with the invention of hara sushi and the simple mix, and which was a simply mixed of fermentation process, was eliminated by sushi that became fast food, and was eliminated and sushi became fast food. Many types of sushi in the world today are known as Sara sushi and which is scattered sushi. Um, in 1689, a cookbook known as Haya Sushi, and in 1728, cookbook describes pouring vinegar over hara sushi or box sushi, square sushi made by filling a wooden frame with rice. Today, sushi is considered the oblong mound of rice and slice of fish draped over it, and became popular in Edo, contemporary Tokyo, in the 1820s and 1830s. The more common story is a technique in 1824 at his shop. The Hanaya Yore from 1799 to 1858 invented the perfect sushi technique. In 1824, at his shop, the Nara sushi of this period was somewhat different from the modern sushi. The sushi rice of this period was about 3 times the size of today's sushi. The amount of vinegar used was half of today's sushi, and type of vinegar was developed during this period, known as akasu, or red vinegar, was made by fermenting sake less. They also used a slightly more salt, and in modern times invented in modern times instead of sugar. Seafood served over rice was prepared in a variety of ways. This red vinegar was developed by Nakano Masakaman, which is the founder of Mizkan, a company that still develops and sells vinegar and other seasonings today. And the last thing, the more common sushi, which is known, which raw salmon and flesh contain, and the reason why a lot of people don't eat sushi is that raw salmon flesh may contain marine parasites such as, I can't pronounce these names, but for more information you can go to wikipedia.org. Before the availability of refrigeration, Japan did not consume raw salmon or other raw fish because of health risks. Salmon and salmon roe only recently came into making sushi and sashimi and other sushi products. In the 1980s, the introduction of parasite-free Norwegian salmon had belonged to the Norwegian fishing companies, which had oversupply and farm fish, and they were looking to sell it in the country. A deal resulted in a Japanese company called NICHIREI for 5,000 tons of salmon and salmon sushi. one last thing. In the United States, sushi had already been served in the United States by the early 1900s, following an influx of Japanese immigration after the Meiji Restoration. The first sushi shop was reportedly in the U.S. Reportedly opened in 1906 in Little Tokyo neighborhood of Los Angeles. Food historian of Lipscomb University had written that a wave of Japanophilia in American high society resulted in serving sushi at social functions. The popularity of Japanese foods peaked around 1905, and that is the main history of sushi. And for more information, you can go to www.wikipedia.net. This has been the history of sushi. We're going to be doing more history of Japanese food. I'm Lawrence Seiler, and this has been Able to Cook. We will have more ability on the plate despite your disability. I'm Lawrence Seiler. See you next time on the next edition of Able to Cook. You can find it at www.orcamedia.net. That's www.orcamedia.net. This has been Able to Cook. I'm Lawrence Seiler. See you next time.